My mother-in-law's a nightmare. She thinks I'm a freeloader. She thinks that I'm just taking advantage of her son so I can live in this gigantic house all by myself while he's away. Well, little does she know, I'm the one paying the mortgage here. And there's something else I need to tell you guys about this nightmare mother-in-law.
Hi everyone. I have a bit of a problem and I would really like your help. I've been unfortunately made to stay with my mother-in-law from hell. I've even tried to be polite to her and I really don't want to kick her out. I've always respected people older than me and have never had a problem with her in particular. However, ever since she started to stay with me, it's been hell and I found myself disliking her. My husband is out of the country. He's in the military and will not be home for a very long time. He has been the main breadwinner ever since I stopped working due to my epilepsy. I've been keeping myself busy with courses though. Every once in a while, I'm able to work on some projects, so it's not like I don't have my own money. I get my husband's check every single month, so there's nothing that I do not have. I wanted to hire someone to stay with me and just make sure that I did not suffer any epileptic attacks alone. Instead, my mother-in-law felt it would be a waste of time and suggested that she should move in instead. She's now in her mid-60s, but she's still very active and young-looking. When she came to visit us before my husband was deployed, she expressed how unhappy she was because she was living alone now that all her kids are grown. She has a daughter who's older than my husband. She lives on a farm halfway across the country with her husband and about 5 kids. The last time I heard, she was pregnant. My husband suggested that maybe she should visit her sister, or at least ask her to send one of her grandkids to keep her company. The only problem is that my sister-in-law only ever listens to her husband. Her husband does not want the kids to be exposed to technology or the outside world, so he never agrees for them to be away from home for a long time. A few days before my husband left, I had the worst fit ever. No one was home except my mother-in-law, who was at least able to help me get to the hospital. Keep in mind that she's frail, 67-year-old woman. When the emergency operators took so long to respond, she managed to drive me to the hospital on her own. I am not a light woman and was having a fit. I can only imagine how she was feeling. When I've gotten some treatment and was waiting for test results from the doctor, she stayed with me. When my husband finally came to the hospital, she was upset with him. She felt as if she had not chosen to get deployed, that he should have taken my condition into consideration. "She is your wife. You took a vow to protect her," she said. He looked very distraught and stressed. She meant well, but that was his job, and I could never ask him to leave it for me. My husband's been in the Army for 10 years now, and it's the job that he loves. We've managed to make it work, even though I'm always scared of getting that phone call. He is the most selfless and brave person out there. When I feel weak, he has always been my anchor. I know that if I ask him to stay with me, he would stay in a heartbeat, even though it would mean that he has to give up his passion, but I could never do that. He has already been off duty for a while since my situation started. I put on a brave smile and told my mother-in-law that she did not need to scold him. I told her that he was going to go, and I was going to take care of myself or look for someone to take care of me. The issue ended there, or so I thought. What I did not know was that my mother-in-law went behind my husband and asked him if she could stay with me and take care of me until he came back. Already, I was looking into alternative treatment options, and those would cost a lot of money, so would hiring someone. She offered to stay for free, take care of me, and make sure that, well, when he came back, I was going to be okay. When he explained it to me, I had reservations, mainly because she's older and I don't want her to have to take care of me all the time. In addition to that, I did not want to look weak in front of her. Already her son was going away. She needed to see me be strong, and that was easier when we were apart from each other. I did not want to worry her at all about my health, but she insisted, and that was how she came to stay at my home. You know, in the beginning, we stayed with each other in harmony. I did most of the chores and cooking in the beginning until she took over because we have 2 different diets. That was understandable because of my health condition. I have some food that I eat and some that I should not eat at all. This led to a few fights when she took ingredients meant for me. Well, I know that most people would probably not, but I started seeing someone who told me that they had natural remedies to help with my symptoms. Those remedies really helped, and the only thing was that my mother-in-law was not a fan of herbs or natural medicine. She's a devout Christian, and while she does believe in medicine, she does not believe in natural medicine. I didn't know how much it offended her, so I thought it would be no trouble bringing my healer, Sheila, to my house. She wanted to show me how to make some remedies and also help me with my spirit. I know many people think it's just mumbo-jumbo, but I would like to ask those people if they were faced with a loved one who had a chronic illness, would they not even try to help them with it? Well, I was tired of feeling great for a while, but when the feeling of pain for days on end, I could not work. For context, my mother-in-law does not know that I'm working. I knew that she would not be happy, so Jean and I chose not to tell her. Either way, one day, she came home from Bible study with a friend to find the house covered in incense. I was feeling better since Sheila came to visit, and I had just gone to the hospital the previous day and they told me that I was on the right track. I can't even remember when the last time I was fit was. I did suffer from chronic pain and migraines for some days, but I was back to normal. Each day I felt stronger thanks to the combination of my treatment and Sheila's remedies, which the doctor knew about and did not oppose it, by the way, so while I was having sessions with Sheila, my mother-in-law came back and she was mad as hell. She accused me of devil worshipping and committing sins in her son's house. Then she and her friends started praying for me and Sheila. The last straw was when they started to destroy Sheila's things, calling them dirty. I shouted at her to stop what she was doing, but she did not. In the end, Sheila left in a fit of rage. She refused to speak to me after what happened and told me to find someone else to help heal me. Well, I have no one to help me now. It's hard to find someone who's not a scammer. I've spoken to my mother-in-law about it and told her that I did not appreciate the way she kicked out someone who was supposed to help me. She told me that she was left in charge of my health by my husband. I know that she takes care of me on days that are tough, but she is not my nurse. It is the money that I spent on trying to heal myself. I don't know why she refuses to understand, but I hate it. She has not spoken to me in days. I refuse to speak to her, but I have to pretend I'm getting along with her when my husband calls because I don't want him to be stressed. I do, however, want her out of my house. Please tell me what I should do because this is my house and I don't want her to make me feel uncomfortable. The more she treats me like this, the more worked up I get, and that's not good for my health. Update number 1. First of all, I would like to address a few questions I have about my condition. I've suffered from epilepsy for over 2 years. I'm a 34-year-old and should be at lower risk for it. Unfortunately, I suffered a mini stroke while at work, and this came after a series of deaths in the family. I started stressing a lot, suffering from fatigue, etc. I started having confusion staring into space sometimes, and this made me mess up at work, and I should have got it checked out, but I did not. Then one morning, I suffered a stroke while I was eating breakfast with my husband. It was minor, and once I was out of the hospital, I went back to work. I started taking better care of myself and feeling better, until one day, I had the fit. It was horrifying. The aftermath was not the greatest, but my husband was my rock, and he took care of me, luckily. And our son, Luca, was in boarding school, so he never had to see me in that condition. He's 10 years old, and he already knows everything there is to know about the condition and is able to support me. But boy, am I glad that he's at boarding school, so he does not have to deal with it. So yes, I can have big fits, small ones, or even just involuntary jerking that lasts a few short seconds. Now back to the update. Things between my mother-in-law and me got worse. I did not leave my room for days on end, and when I needed to eat, I ordered something or snuck into the kitchen when she was not there. Our relationship was not good at all. We just hated each other. She made it seem like she was the boss of the house, and she did what she wanted when she wanted. She started to change the order of things when she knew that it would confuse me, so she starts to have people over for dinner and make a lot of noise. I'm talking bingo, quiz nights, was now being held here at my home. All this time, I was depressed and stressed, and I wanted her gone. I felt that she was to blame for everything that was going on in my life, but after a while, I knew that I did not want to wallow in self-pity. I confided in a friend about what was going on, and she suggested that I should stay with her for a while. She said she would monitor me and everything, and she has a big penthouse apartment which is very spacious and that has everything that I would ever need. She was gracious enough to let me stay there, and I was beyond grateful because I finally could work in peace. I told my mother-in-law that I would stay for 2 weeks, but that turned into a month. Then my husband sent me a text message telling me that he did not appreciate how I've been treating his mother. She went running to him, telling him that I've been mean and rude to her and making stuff up. He was angry about me leaving her alone in the house, and I told him he did not have to worry because she had the entire old age village in our house all day, every day. Even though it is my house, she has taken over and there's no more space for me to breathe. He asked to call me via video call, and that was one of the worst fights we've ever had as a couple. He told me that I was using my condition to drive a rift between him and his mother because I don't want to share him with anyone. I told him that his mom just wants to freeload in our house and not have to pay bills. She's flaked on me so many times when I need her. She treats me like I do not contribute anything to the house, and all she goes on about is how her son is the only reason I'm still in that house. Of course, he denied that Mommy Dearest was toxic. So we called each other names, and then he said something that we never came back from. You're so selfish. I feel like you're always sick, and the only one I should be worrying about. You don't even know that we have a son, right? Huh, I wish I never married such a selfish woman. Well, I shut the laptop in his face and I cried. He texted me for days afterward trying to apologize, but I ignored him. I was a nervous wreck and came so close to an attack. But I don't know how I pulled myself together. Maybe I sensed that what was to come needed to have as much strength as possible. A week after the last time I spoke to my husband, I was told that he had unfortunately succumbed to his injuries and was no more. I didn't even know that he got injured. I'd been in such of my head that I did not answer him and his mother's calls. I want to go back to the day and tell him that I love him, and that I did not mean those words that I said. I would stay with his mother in peace for years if it only meant that he would come back. But now, tomorrow I must prepare to see him. Give me strength, please, for I'm failing. Update 2 weeks later. Hey everyone, I'm very sorry that I did not get to post an update after my last one. I was highly emotional and I'm even shocked that I managed to update you at all. I had to write it while I was on my way back home to speak to my mother-in-law. I did not know if she had heard yet, but I knew that we needed to be with each other. Suddenly, all the fights which had been having just seemed that much more trivial. I had to tell my husband's mom that he was no more, and I also had to tell my son. My poor Luca had been looking forward to playing football with his father when it was school holidays. I was so scared. I felt as if I was going crazy as I realized that my rock was gone and I had to remain strong for our baby. But I didn't. I did not falter. I knew that he would not want me to be this weak. He would tell me to sit right up, put on a brave face, and make sure that I planned everything perfectly, and so that's what I did. I came back home to find that my mother-in-law was sitting in the living room and there were pictures of Jean scattered all over. I sat down next to her and put a hand on her shoulder. We looked at each other and she broke down in tears, and we spent the rest of the day just sitting there amongst his pictures looking. Eventually, I had to get up to make phone calls so that I could start making arrangements as well as breaking the news to our family and friends. By the time I made the last phone call, I was so numb and tired. I saw that my son's headmaster had sent me an email that he would be on the way back the next morning. I dreaded having to tell him in person, but it was better than having someone else tell him. The next morning, he was back home and I broke the news to him after he had just freshened up. He did not take it well, but at least I was there to comfort him. I told him that his father was a very brave man who died doing what he loved. The following week was a haze as I had to make his funeral arrangements. I did not have to much as the military took care of expenses. I just had to focus on making sure the right people were there and things ran smoothly. He had a beautiful funeral that was fitting for him. I was able to go back to work within a few days. As for my son, he had about 2 weeks off school so that he could grieve. My mother-in-law never left her room. I saw her when I gave her the food, and I understood exactly what it was she was going through, and I wanted to support her. She stayed in her room for at least a week, and then after some time, she started leaving it to take a shower and eat some more food. I tried to be as supportive as possible, but I did not know what words could even comfort a grieving mother. When my son returned to school, I had to start getting used to living alone. I took things slowly, but I was making progress. This was until my mother-in-law came from nowhere and told me that she wants me to leave her home. Yeah, she said that it's her house. Well, I was confused when one day I got home and saw my things packed up. She told me that I could stop pretending to care about her son since she knows that he's no more. I told her that of course I cared about him. He was my husband. But she insisted that I did not respect him and that it was my fault that when he passed away we were on bad terms. She also said she did not appreciate how I had been trying to get rid of her so that I could spend his money. I told her that she would not speak like that to me. She had made me uncomfortable in my own home, and that's why I had left. Then she made him turn against me, and that was why we were not on speaking terms when I lost him. Then she showed me a piece of paper, and it took me by surprise. He had left all his assets to his mother. Everything. Talk about messing up my life from beyond the grave. It was clearly his will, even his lawyer confirmed it. He had changed it over a year ago. He left me some money, but it said that all his assets would go to his mother. However, the checks which was coming from the military was going to be mine and Luca's. She told me that since it was his assets, that meant that the house, his car, everything was going to her. I asked how she made him do it. She told me that she had agreed with her son that if anything happened to me, then she would take care of our son. But a year ago, I was fine. Well, except that one time when I nearly didn't make it. You have no idea how much it sucks to know that your husband had no faith in you surviving. I knew that he did not want to screw me over with this, but he did, and now she was kicking me out of the house. I let her drive me out, let her think she won, but there are things that she does not know, and they will be revealed very soon. Just remain patient, I will tell you everything. Update number 3. When she told me to get out, I refused. The lawyer came and clarified it said all assets, which would also include the home. I was beside myself with anger. I wanted to shake her. She was so smug as she told me that she was not running a charity. She told me that since I had no job, I was not going to be of any use to her, and that hurt a lot. So I left, knowing what I knew. I tried to be nice in the beginning, but I did not want to displace an old lady. I'd been planning on shipping her off to her daughter's house, but now that was impossible because of this complication. So, I spoke to Jean's sister and told her the situation, then begged her to take her mother in. She spoke to her mom, who said some very unkind words to her. She told her that she was a traitor and was not welcome at the house. It was like she had gone mad. Surely it had to be because of grief, so I tried to appeal to her. I could not part with that house. It's been my house for the past decade. We planned to have more kids and fill those empty rooms, but now we're not going to get to do that. I told her that, hoping it would just emotionally appeal to her. But she refused. She told me that she felt I was a burden left by her son and that she was not going to take care of me for a second longer. I told you, I tried to reason with her, but she did not want to be reasoned with, so I tried to give her an option. Get her to stay with her daughter, but she did not want to. I even moved out, hoping that she would change her mind. I was empathetic to her situation, but she did not deserve it. I had no choice but to do this to her, and I played the card. Well, you know how I've been working online, right? Well, I make a lot of money, enough to cover the mortgage, and I've been paying our mortgage for many years now. From the very first payment, that was our deal. He pays for everything else while I pay for the mortgage because of the kind of job he has. Nobody even knew. It was our secret. And now it was about to come to light, but now I've lost patience with her. She has shown that she does not care about me. She has no loyalty to me, and so I have none to her now. So, I talked to my lawyer and explained the exact situation to him. Everything. He told me that I could easily get a court order and have her thrown out because it's my house after all, since I'm the one that paid for it. That's what I'm going to do. No matter how she begs, I'm throwing her out. I'm tired of her. Final update. Hey guys, just a quick update. I followed through on my original plan. I've read the comments where you raised the issue of how ethical it is, but you must understand that this woman has been treating me like dirt from the day she moved in. In the 10 years that I've been her daughter-in-law, I've also noticed that she has also been very dismissive of me. And also, she did not even consider how Luca would feel not being able to live in that house with his mom. She was willing to throw me under the bus, so I did not see what was wrong with me doing the same thing. I sent her multiple notices telling her to vacate the house because it's legally mine, but she refused. I waited for the days stipulated on the notice to pass, and then I arranged for a forced removal. I tried to make this as easy as possible for her, but she didn't want it. She ignored my texts and my messages till I had no choice. On the day that we kicked her out, she unfortunately had people over. Some ladies that she was drinking tea and gossiping with. I recognized the one who kicked Sheila out and gave her the evil eye. I told my people to make sure that nothing was hers that was left in the house, and they got to work. She starts screaming at me, telling me that she was not going to leave. But, of course, in the end, all things were on the lawn. Well, I even took the courtesy of arranging for a van to put her stuff into storage until she could take it. Her friends were just watching the drama unfold and trying to attack me. But I had someone to protect me this time who made sure that they did not touch me. After minutes of fighting with her, she was off my premises. It was a completely legal process, and I did more than I should have. I guess I was just waiting for her to grow up and apologize for the way that she treated me in the past. But if there is one thing about her, it's that she had a lot of pride. She has nothing to complain about, though, because she won. She got the bulk of his assets, and when I was not left with much, but she would not stop talking about it. It was my worst nightmare to find out that she was renting an apartment in this town and refusing to leave. Randomly, I was getting texts from old women telling me to repent, and I'm going to hell. Well, I blocked every single number, but they just kept on coming. When they saw that they could not get a reaction out of me, that's when they decided to start harassing me in person. I'd be at the grocery store and have some ladies just give me a filthy look or throw something at me. The scariest was when they came to the house at night. My son was home for the holidays, so I was not alone. In spite of the drama, I was doing well and the doctors were positive about my condition. That was until I woken up from the nap in the living room by the sound of breaking glass. I found a brick with a little veiled threat basically telling me to watch my back. I was scared my son had been there. What if something had happened to him because of whoever she sent? And then I felt it. The warning signs of the attack. I called my son, who thankfully was awake, and told him to call my doctor. It was late, but my doctor was able to send someone to check on me. It was one of the worst ones. I ended up spending the night in the hospital. That was when I knew that I was not going to allow this woman to remain in this town anymore. So, the first thing when I got discharged, I went to the church. I knew the priest just from exchanging a few words when I got there. I told him the whole story, including what happened the previous night, and afterward I showed him the text that I've been receiving. He was very empathetic about my situation and offered me comfort if I ever needed it. Side note, I go to church regularly these days now. The next day I get a visit from the ladies. My mother-in-law was nowhere to be found, though. They did apologize and promised to leave me alone, though. They also told me that she's no longer allowed to come to the church because she did not want to apologize. I thought that it would not be the end of it. Well, that she would stay fighting. But she packed all her stuff up and left. I've never seen her again after that, and her friends that she was counting on switched sides as soon as they smelt trouble, which was a very wise decision on their part. It's been 3 months now since what happened, and I'm doing well. I've been feeling so strong lately. I've even gone back to the office, and there's enough support for me there, and it helps me to feel normal. My son, he's doing well in school, and he's attending grief counseling to help him deal with his father's death. As for myself, well, I've decided that I want to sell this house and get a smaller apartment. I don't see myself moving on from my husband. It's not that I'm over his death. It's just that I don't think that anyone could ever make me as happy as he did. It's sad for you to hear, right? But I'm doing just fine.
Okay, so this story had so many sad parts to it. I think the death was definitely the saddest part because it ripped people apart. However, that does not excuse mother-in-law for the way that she was acting. I want to know what you guys think about this though. If you were in OP's position and you had to go through everything that OP went through, how do you handle it? Do you think OP did too much or too little? Drop your comments down below, guys. Let's discuss this one in detail in the comment section. Thank you for joining me on today's video. If you're new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I release a story every single day. Stop on by, see what story we're up to for the day. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya!